Welcome to A Word in Season. My name is Mim Hosking, and today I'd like to talk with you about the walk beside. Our life is often described as a walk or a journey. It's not always a walk in the park. Sometimes it can be really tough. We can feel lost and we can feel like we're in the dark. As a follower of Jesus, I find it really encouraging to read the words of the psalmist when he said, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear evil, because you are with me." The Good Shepherd, Jesus, is always with us for those that love and follow him. It is a wonderful comfort for us in my times of trouble and in my times of great joy in this journey of life. The Bible actually has a lot to say about walking with God, to walk in righteousness, to walk with wisdom and integrity and peace, to walk in the ways of the Lord, to live our lives walking a path with God and the path that God has chosen for us. After giving the instructions for living in Deuteronomy 11, God says to his people, "Fix these words of mine in your hearts and your minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and your foreheads, to remind ourselves with symbols and words, to teach these things to our children, talking about them when you sit and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up, to carefully observe these commands that he gave to us, to love the Lord your God and to walk in obedience to him and hold fast to him." You see, we don't have to do this walk, this journey of life on our own. God is with us. For those of us who know him and know the forgiveness of Jesus, we have the reassurance of his presence with us. That's the Holy Spirit. He does not leave us. Although sometimes we run ahead and we do things our own way, we go off the path and we struggle, thinking that we know best, when actually what we really need is a guide and a light to help us to live the way our Creator designed us to live. Jesus encourages us to walk in the light. He is the light. It says in John 8:12, Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Jesus is the light that shows us the way to live, a life walking with him. If we say that we're friends with God, we ought to walk as Jesus walked. He didn't walk alone. He walked beside his disciples and those that God put in his path. He stopped to talk with those that society rejected. He spent time with children. He spent time with the sick, the women, and those who needed love and grace and forgiveness. I love the story of the two that were walking to Emmaus after Jesus' death and resurrection. As they were walking along, discussing the things that had happened, Jesus joined them. They didn't recognize him straight away, but he asked them some questions about how they were feeling, and he listened to their cries, their fears, their hopes, and their disappointment, their concerns. He walked beside them and he explained how the scriptures revealed the things that had been happening. He explained who he was. When they arrived at Emmaus, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and broke it. And as he went to give it to them, suddenly they recognized who he was. And then Jesus disappeared from their sight. But so filled with joy and so inspired and encouraged, they ran all the way back to Jerusalem to tell the disciples that they had seen Jesus. He had walked beside them. He was alive. Jesus wants to walk with us, and we are to walk beside others just as he did. A close friend of mine once wrote a blog about his journey with cancer. He called it The Walk Beside. As he wrote about his cancer diagnosis, my friend invited family and friends and whoever was just passing through to join him in the walk beside. He knew that he couldn't get through this journey alone and hoped that the blog would encourage others, as well as being a way of communicating with his readers what he was going through, what he expected would be a difficult road ahead. My friend didn't know how the events would unfold, but he knew God, and he wanted us just to walk beside him and see where the journey would go. What a joy it was to see him walk with God in the face of death. The pain of cancer treatments, the laughter and joy of meals together with some of our closest childhood friends, finding love, and eventually losing his fight with cancer, but being united with Jesus in eternity. What does it look like for you to walk beside people? There are many verses in the Bible that can guide us to be living together in harmony, to be at peace with one another. Jesus said, "Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." Acts describes the believers being united in everything, sharing with one another, united in purpose. They went to the temple together, they ate meals together in one another's homes, they prayed together as whole families, encouraging one another in their faith. In Romans, we're reminded not to judge one another, but to keep pursuing those things that bring peace and lead to building up one another, to aim for restoration, comfort, and to encourage one another. In 1 Peter, we can see that walking beside each other means to be hospitable without grumbling and complaining, to use our spiritual gifts to serve one another, and to encourage younger people to continue growing in their faith. Micah 6:8 says that we are to walk beside those who need us, to act for justice, to love them with mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. It's not easy. There is always room for more growth and more understanding. But I wonder who you choose to walk with, who is influencing your walk, and how are you encouraging their walk? Another good friend of mine once gave me this poem. "Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. But walk beside me and just be my friend." My prayer for you is that you will have some good friends that you can walk beside, that you can encourage, and that they too will encourage you. But remember that your greatest friend that you'll ever find is Jesus. He will always be there and he will never leave you.